up, everybody? My name is Shannon, and I am still waiting for my Satyr. And today, I want to talk again about The School for Good and Evil by Soman Chainani. I've read this book a couple of times by now. When I first reviewed it on my channel, which is actually about 6 years ago, I was reading those books for the second time because when I originally read these, I was in high school, and I remember reading the first one, and I was into it. It was interesting, but it didn't capture me. I was kind of like, I don't know, this is a little bit weird. But when I revisited it, I was like, oh my gosh, these books are so good. And I just tore through the rest of the series. And when I put a video out, I reviewed basically the entire series just all in one go. And that was before the spin-off series, the Camelot years, had come out as well. But since there is a movie now, I decided that I really needed to go back and revisit these books because this truly is one of my favorite series, and reading it again just really solidifies that in me. So this is still going to be a spoiler-free review. I plan on reviewing all of the books individually, and we're of course going to start with the first book, which is The School for Good and Evil. And I want to talk about what kicked this all off, and that was watching the movie that came out on Netflix. Now, I was really excited when I found out that this was going to be a movie because it is such a fun story. There is so much lore, there's so much to look at. The characters are amazing, but I did think it was going to be a series, and when I saw that it was just a 2-hour movie, I was kind of like, okay. So watching it, it was very weird because this book honestly was adapted really well. I think the movie did a really good job of adapting the story, of adding just the right amount that it needed, of taking back or pulling back things that they didn't have time for. Honestly, it's probably one of the better book to movie adaptations. However, the whole time I'm watching it, I'm just kind of like, okay, but if you take this detail out, then when you learn about this thing later, that thing's gonna happen. And so I was just like, okay, I have to reread the book. I have to see how, faithful it was. And honestly, it was very faithful. And I do think there is going to be another movie. I do think they're gonna adapt A World Without Princes. And I'm currently in the middle of my World Without Princes reread, and I'm a little bit leery of that movie. But anyway, back to The School for Good and Evil. This story is just absolutely just so beautiful. It starts off when these two readers named Sophie and Agatha are taken away from their, just regular old village of Gavaldon and enrolled in the School for Good and Evil. And this school trains our storybook heroes and our storybook villains. And of course, everything is not what it seems when we think Sophie is going to be the princess and Agatha is going to be the witch, but in fact, their roles are reversed. I have always loved this. I love the fact that Agatha just really goes on this journey of self-discovering and realizing that despite what people have told her, she is inherently good. And in fact, she is better than a lot of the other heroes that are being trained in the School for Good because it has become so self-absorbed. It has become so vapid because good keeps winning. So they're kind of just sitting back, and they've lost a lot of the reasons why they were inherently good in the first place. On the other side of that, we have Sophie realizing that despite the fact that she has tried her entire life to be good, she does good deeds and all of that, she has been placed in the evil school. And what's always so interesting to me is that she is just like the other girls in good, and yet she is on track to become one of the most evil witches of their generation. It's insane. And this story that Sophie goes on, it spans all 3 books, and of course Agatha's does too, but I think with Sophie it just takes a little bit more time because she wants to be good so bad that it makes her selfish, that it makes her evil. And the true purpose of these books is showing that nobody is inherently good, nobody is inherently evil. We are just human. We have it within us to be both of those things. But of course, other things, I love both of the schools. I love the classes they get to go to. I'm a sucker for class schedules and maps or that kind of thing. So I love seeing all the different classes that they get to go to. The professors have always been just some of my absolute favorite characters. And I really love learning about the nuances within this world. I love learning about how these different villains and heroes had their starts. And then even Tedros, who is the prince essence of the story ends up being developed and adapted so well. And going back and just seeing it all from the beginning again, it was just such an amazing experience. I stand by that, like, this is one of my absolute favorite series. It is definitely up there with Percy Jackson. I'm really happy that this is still being read, like, in middle school libraries as well. Like, a couple students of mine have been reading it and that kind of thing. And it's just so good. Like, it's so weird to me because it's like this book is dealing with, you know, nobody's inherently good, nobody's inherently evil. And then we get into the second book, which we'll talk about in another video, and it's boys versus girls. But there's still such this queer lens to it. And it's very subtle, but it's very complex and very nuanced. And that's something that I think Soman Chainani just does so unbelievably well. So if you haven't read this series, highly recommend that you do. Highly recommend you check out my old video as well about the School for Good and Evil, because I hit on a lot more themes in that video. But overall, like, I'm so excited for this reread. Like I said, I'm about halfway through A World Without Princes, and it's kind of like, it's hitting a little bit different. And I've never read the Camelot years, so I'm excited to get to those as well. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you liked it, be sure to hit that like button down below, and don't forget to subscribe to Talk Books with me every week. That's everything I got for today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.